Okay, we're back. Or rather, we're live. You can see me okay, hear me alright, put in the chat, let me know. Hey Basanta, how you doing? No worries, Jimmy. Even if you didn't reply, I knew you had. Any day fishing, it's going to be a good day. So I'm pretty sure you had a good day. Hey, Ju Marinas. Good morning. Thanks for that, Erwin. Yeah, I know US yen just did a bit of a pop already there past the entry level. Hey, Linley, how you doing? Thanks for that, Ju Marinas. Alrighty, one more minute and we shall get started. In the meantime, if you're on the session, do drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining us from, especially if you're new and you haven't joined us. The link for the Discord channel is there. And for all the regulars, a big welcome back. Good to have you with me again. Today is the daily market analysis with more information about the Canadian CPI data to be released tonight. Yesterday we saw a little bit of a continuation of a retracement from the dollar index, but looking for a that might find a bit of a base and rebound, but we'll talk about that more. We'll talk more about that shortly. Good morning, Diana. How are you doing? Okay, if you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put it into the chat and let me know. And you can help me out massively by remembering to click on that like and subscribe button. I'm sure it will help a lot somehow with the YouTube algorithms. Now, quick disclaimer. Any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as educational material only, as the contents of this webinar are not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product. Please remember that your objectives, financial situation and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Take that away, we're done. Okay, doing very good, thank you. I am doing super and fantastic as well. Glad to be back on my streams. Hey, Clocks, how are you doing? Thanks for joining. Good to have you with us. Now, and yes, we are streaming across multiple different platforms. So if you're on any of the platforms, do drop a message and say hi. You can also share this video with any other traders that you know as well. All right. Okay. So now what has happened since the last time we spoke? A whole bunch of stuff, but not a lot as well. Okay. Just as Basanta was saying, I just want to show you that as well. We talked about this on the US yen. We're looking for it to come down to test that trend line and bounce up. It's just gone past that trigger level. I wouldn't get into it yet. I want to see that candle close above that point before you get in. Also last night, or not last night, yesterday evening, we had our stream right there, and then at 6 p.m. GMT plus 8, we saw the yen go from 159.62 straight down within the hour. When I'll show you in the 15-minute time frame as well. Right, within the 15 minutes, went from 159.62 down to 158.75. And then retrace right back up. You also see that it was outside of the Bollinger. That's why it came straight back in again, right? One of the reasons why it came straight back in again. A lot of discussions about that on the Discord channel yesterday as this was happening. I hope no one jumped in and sold at that point, because as quickly as it dropped, it retraced right back up on the US yen. That was on the 15-minute. Now back to the H1 time frame. You see as it popped out and right back up. Now looking for this to push up. That move to the downside wasn't really explained that much. I thought it could have been a bit of an intervention. No, I thought it was not likely to be an intervention, because it wasn't a huge drop. It was a drop, but not a huge drop. At that time as well, what we saw on the dollar at 6 p.m. was it also continuing with that push to the downside as it broke that support area that we were looking for. It broke that trend line and pushed down. One other reason why I thought that explaining that move to the downside on the US yen, and also at the same time, or almost at the same time, we saw at 6 p.m. right there, right, 5 p.m. GMT plus 8, we saw Bitcoin go from 62,000, almost 62,800 within the hour down to, I'm on the right date? Yes, down to 6,500, right? 6,500 or 6,600, retraced slightly and then continued lower towards the, where was it? 59, as low as 58,500 before now bouncing back up again. So I would say that it's yen gained a bit of strength, dollar weakened a bit as well. Generally, it was a bit driven by possibly some news on Bitcoin, possibly that weakness on the dollar, not so much because of the BOJ. Okay, I had someone ask me about a update. Let me just bring that up. Where was it? Let me see. I saw that notification come up. Where was it? I've lost it now. Wait a minute. Sorry, bear with me a moment. I want to find it. There. Right, someone was just, I hope he's watching right now. I'm not going to try and pronounce that nickname. Just asking for an update. This was 10th of June. Update please. We've just seen Bitcoin. I was looking at that to push down towards that support area before bouncing back. It's kind of playing out right now. Came down to around that 57. It came to 58. Looking for it to bounce off this support back up towards the resistance and then possibly higher. So I've done a little bit different today. I don't usually talk about the cryptocurrencies, but I just thought that with the way Bitcoin went from that 62 level yesterday down to 58, just want to pay a bit of attention to it. Came down, tested its support. You can see that the last time in May, it bounced off this level. It looks like it's going to bounce off this point again as well. So that said, now back to the majors. No news, no big news from yesterday, and that's why we saw the dollar push down slightly, set along that 61.8 level, now looking like it's retracing back up. There are a bit more things to think about with that, and with the way the dollar is pushing up, that also explains why we're seeing the US yen push up slightly. But like I was saying, we want to see that close above this level before you look to get into the trade. Okay, now back to that. Question from, what's that not happening? Something's happening here. Okay, question from Jimmy is, with the US presidential debate coming up, any effect on the dollar index? I've traded through a couple of US presidential elections and all the debates. Generally not huge. Let me think. Generally, we don't see much of a impact on the dollar index during the debate. The biggest impact I saw was when Trump was elected. When Trump got elected the first time, well, Trump got elected, that time we did see the dollar strengthen, well, first weaken and then strengthen after that. But during the debates, not so much. I haven't seen, not noticeable, right? Not noticed or not attributed directly to the debate. Okay, unless they say something absolutely crazy, but not likely. Okay. Hey, good morning, Noachuku. How are you doing? Hey, Nav. Good morning. So now with that, then not much said from yesterday. Today we had BOC Governor McCallum speaking at 1:30 a.m. Workers, jobs growth, and inflation today and tomorrow didn't do too much. I didn't even pay attention to it, so nothing much on that. But tonight at 8:30 p.m. GMT plus 8, we do have the Canadian CPI to be released. And if you're looking at this, the CPI month to month looking to go from a 0.5 to a 0.3%, while median CPI staying at 2.6 and trimmed CPI year on year looking to slow down slightly from a 2.9 to a 2.8. So generally what we're looking at this is if we do see that slowdown in inflation growth for the Canadians, that's again going to give the Bank of Canada a little bit more encouragement to cut rates, right? To cut rates further, and then that's going to possibly lead to some further or some reversal on the UScad with weakness on the Canadian dollar possible. Okay, so we're looking out for that. I'll tell you more about that shortly after we look at the dollar index. Then following on from that, we have consumer confidence for the US at 10 p.m. GMT plus 8, 102 to 100, no big change expected there, so not expecting a big move on the dollar at that point. Through to tomorrow, early tomorrow morning, super early for you guys, early for me, at 9:30 a.m. we do have the Aussie CPI, Aussie inflation growth. And if you look at this, year on year, they're expecting, and this is a bit of a surprise, this is something to watch out for and a bit of a surprise, that you're expecting inflation growth to go from a 3.6 to a 3.8%. If you look at that, in April, they went from 3.4 to 3.5. In May, they went from 3.5 to 3.6. In June, now they're looking to go from a 3.6 possibly to a 3.8. It almost looks like the Aussies or the RBA is somewhat losing the fight to bring the inflation down to its 2 to 3% target level. Not very good news for our friends in Australia, for my friends in Australia, Jimmy and Basanta in particular, that I remember in Australia, anyone else in Australia as well. I don't think it's very good news. The last time we saw, I think the last time we saw that move, was it October? I think in October when we saw the move in October, and if I scroll back, just bear with me while I do this, just wanted to do it. Oops, where is it? The last time we saw that happen, why can't I find it? Okay. We saw the, where was it? The increased rate. So that was in May. May last year, they took it to 3.6 to 3.8. There was one more time they did that. They're expecting an increase. They held, oh no, that one in June. So that was a bit of a surprise move. That two moves was a bit of a surprise in May and June last year, when we saw a bit of a blip to the upside on inflation data, leading to the RBA hiking rates. So if tomorrow we do see the inflation data climb again, so that was May and June last year, yeah, went from 6.3 to 6.8. So if we do see it continue to push up, right, 1 month, 2 months, third month continuing to push up, I'm not going to rule out another possible rate hike from the RBA, which would be quite divergent to the other central banks where they're looking at rate cut scenarios. The RBA the current inflation data seems to be climbing against the Aussie at this point, in the Aussies at this point, so can't rule out a rate hike scenario from the RBA later into July. Something to watch out for. Going to be quite interesting. Okay, so we'll look out for that at 9:30 for the Aussie tomorrow. But first up, Canadian data for today. Then with all that said, looking at the dollar index, it is pushing back up. So it found, so yesterday we were saying that it needs to stay above 105.50 to remain bullish. Could consolidate in that area. 105.50, it did break 105.50, came down to 105.40, finding that 61.8 level, and then looking like it's bouncing back up. So that didn't happen. It did break that trend line to push lower. Diana says I shall hold on to my Aussie Kiwi trade. Might hike and go down. It's not going to hike yet. It's not going to hike yet. First Tuesday of the month, so not going to hike yet. Still a little bit more to go into next week. So now we're looking at the dollar index. The trend line is there, but I don't think we need it as much. That one we can take away. Yeah, trend line is there, but I don't really need it. Take that away. Now looking at this, I have this point, which I want to catch that. And then we have that move up. Okay, there we go. So overall trend for the dollar is still to the upside. We did see massive retracements. This was in June, 12th of June, massive retracement. A smaller one on the 18th of June, right, came up to the top, now retrace and looking like it's pushing back up. What I'm looking for from here, now like that, okay. What I'm looking for from here would be, take those away. We have that point, take that away for now. We have that, I'll change that to a dotted line because it's broken quite easily, and put that as my resistance. Okay, then from here we'll take that and check this level down. That 61.8 will stay, and we'll consider 23. That point, no, that's broken. Don't need that. 38 is there. Okay. So we'll consider those points there. And I'll put in one more. Look at that. Right. So now if the dollar index does continue to push up, I was actually thinking that, just before the last 2 hours, I was actually thinking that it might trade lower down. I was actually looking for it to come down to this point and then bounce back up, right? That's why I'm a little bit over the place at this point now, because seeing it bounce from here forms a little bit of that double bottom scenario where it could push up. Right, the thing now is that it needs to break above this 38.2 level to push to the upside of 105.70. And beyond that, we could see 105.90. But I don't, sorry, I don't know what's happening. Something's flying over my face. Okay. I don't see that happening so much. We saw it resisted one time already. So what I'm actually thinking is that on the dollar index, today being the 25th of June, we might want to see that test and could test 105.60 level. All right, we could see it test, but I'm thinking, okay, then after that you're looking for, look for reaction if price test 105.60 level, which is also the 38.2 retracement level. Okay, so look for it to test. I'm actually more tempted to think that it could do that back down again. I'm thinking that it could do that back down again. All right, okay, so we're looking for reaction if the price test, if it rejects, look for price to trade down to 105.20. All right, if it rejects, we could see price trade down towards the 105.20 area, which is down about here, about this point here. So test, reject, come back down. I'm looking at that possibility. Of course, if it breaks up, then you're looking at continuation towards that resistance level there. Okay, but because I don't see any major news for the US or even the other currencies, I'm looking at it as a possible retracement for now and then a continuation back down. Checking on the news. Oh, that's interesting. Forget 160, traders see yen slumping as far as 170 this time. We look out for that. Yeah, I don't see. Governor McCallum's, it's reasonable to expect further rate cuts. Yeah. Okay, so I'll look for that to test and reject, try to trade down. If it breaks through, then you could see the 105.90 level. Yep, okay. We got that. The main thing will be to look for that reaction along this point here. Okay, right at this point, no big buyers. We're going to see what happens at that 38.2 retracement level. If it breaks to the upside, we could see further upside towards 105.90. Reject, we'll see it come right back down. We look at all the different scenarios across the major currency pairs. With that, then looking at the Kiwi, right, looking for it to test and reject from yesterday. It hasn't done that. It's just pretty much sit in a wide consolidation, so we'll take it away for now. And you see that it's still sitting in that area. Looking at the dollar, I think that we're going to see it still continue to sit within this range. I don't see any big moves here on the Kiwi yet. All right, it's all in this point here, and in this range, it is, what am I doing? In this range, it's only a 44, 45 pip range, not worth trying to do anything here. I would say that if we see a big reversal or continuation to the downside here on the dollar, then maybe what you could be looking out for would be a breakout to the upside. Might not go very well with Dinah's Aussie Kiwi trade. On 6155, 20 pip stop, very generous. 60 pip take to the upside. And that's on dollar weakness. I give it a bit of a low chance of that happening, but because it's sitting in that range, that's something that you could look out for. I wouldn't be looking for it to trade down because we have the next support at this point. Okay, so 6155, 20 to 60. Covering some areas, some options there. Buy at 0.6155, stop loss 20, take profit 50 or 60. 60, there we go. Okay, keep that, that's fine. Then onto the Aussie, that didn't happen, take that. Now, I like the way it's moving right now because that's going to, we talked about this yesterday, for it to push up, test that previous high, reject it and push right back down. That would be my view if we do see the dollar strengthen. So if we do see it break up from this point to the upside, you look for that kind of move back down. I know that some of you might be thinking that you could have a bit of a shoulder, head, and shoulder scenario here with that neckline about that point or in that area. There is not exactly a textbook version of an inverted head and shoulder for me, but I'm actually thinking more of a double top scenario to push back down with dollar strength. So I'll keep this view here for a test and reject 6670, 15, 20 pip stop, go down to this point of 6590, 80 pip take with a hesitation at 6630. I like that one. I really like that one. So now we have that sell at 6670, stop loss at 20, take profit at 80 with a hesitation at, where was it? 6630. At 0.6630. There we go. Yep. See dollar retracing slightly now, a bit more now. So that's holding. Okay, if dollar weakens, I'll look at the Kiwi. If dollar strengthens, I'll look at the Aussie. Then onto the yen. This is one reason why I say, especially to Basanta or anyone else looking at the yen, this is one reason why I say want it to close above that point, right? So I'll take that away for now. You wouldn't want to trigger that trade yet. And remember that news that we just saw, the headliner that we just saw, forget 160, looking at 170. I think that it's going to be super choppy and go all over the place before it gets to 170. So yes, it sounds like a good level to target, but right at 159 now, there's going to be still a lot of things to get through before we get to, where is 170? To 170 up here. All right, not saying that's impossible. Everything is possible for the yen, but it's going to go through a lot more fireworks before we get to that point. So I would say that, you see this one came down to test at 23.6 and bounce, holding along this support level. Definitely want to see it bounce off this point. Some of you have tried or are trying my new indicator that I was doing, so I'll show you that as well. All right, so the MACD, the faster one that I've created, is also showing a bit of a crossover to the upside. So again, showing a bit of a push higher, possible push higher, but it's still sitting there right now. So you can use this, and if you want access to this, do drop me a message on TradingView. I can get you an access to that. It's crossing over, so I'm looking at that sitting along the support. You can look for it to go long still. You know what? I'm looking at this, and I would say that I want to see it push up. I want to see it push up a little bit more. But then there's so many levels in the middle there that you might want to see, you might just want to wait for it to break out of this. That was a point there. You might just want to wait for it to break out of this, although yes, I know the indicator is telling you that you can look to buy, showing you that it's got an upward potential. If you did that, I feel that it's going to be a bit risky. 159.60. Stop loss 30 pips. Take profit 60 to the upside. If we see that dollar strength. I wouldn't do much on the US yen while it's in this area. I just don't feel like you should do anything in this area here. It's going to be choppy. The better solution would be that it breaks above 159.90, 160. You can go for that good 100 pip move to the upside. You can have a good tight stop of 20 to 30 pips that way. I think a bit of patience here would pay off quite nicely. So you can look for that kind of move. And once it gets to that point, you move this to break even and try and ride it up. Okay, so nothing on the US yen. Update on the US yen is nothing yet. 160, stop loss 30, take profit 100. And I'll keep that warning there as well. 160, stop loss 30, take profit 100. Okay, there we go. Yep, then on to the trading yen is like trading gold at the moment. Kind of. Trading yen is one of my favorite things to do, especially if you sit there and you catch the right move. Okay, then on to pound dollar, right? Playing out quite nicely as we had planned from yesterday for it to push up towards that resistance, to test that resistance of 61.8 and 50, and that level there, looking for it to test and reject to push back down. Okay, that was what I was looking out for. I'll keep that view. Oh wait, hey Kunal, how are you doing? Hey Lingopedia, hope you're well. So I'll keep that view there on the pound dollar again. I like showing you guys this. You know, that's pushing to the downside, slightly to the downside. I think it's going to sit there because if you look at it on the H4 time frame, it's pushed up. So that's an early indication that it's going to push up, test, and then it looks like it's curving back down, looking like it's going to push back down again. Okay, so I'll keep that view, test and reject of the resistance, 1.2675, 20 to 50 to the downside, 1.2675, 20 to 50 to the downside on the pound dollar. I like that. I'll keep that view. Then on to the euro, right? Take that away, that didn't trigger. Pushed up, testing that resistance, turned support. I'll push that there. Right, resistance turned support level. If it does break this point, we could see it trade down. 38.2 is holding. That makes sense. That's okay. That point's fine. Okay, so now I'm looking at this for it to break again on dollar strength. If it does break the support, 1.0715, stop loss 20 is generous. Take profit down to 40 to the downside. That's on dollar strength again. That's fine. Hey Angel Case, how are you doing? 1.0715, 15 to 2040. I'm still thinking of that possibility if it breaks to the upside. On dollar, if we see the dollar test and reject and push right back down, I'm thinking whether it could sit here and bounce, whether it could do that back up, right? And checking again, no major news on the euro or on the dollar. Okay, I'll still keep that. That looks like the more reasonable trend following thing to do. So 1.0715. We won't consider this as an alternate scenario. We'll be looking at the euro to sell at 1.0715. Stop loss would be 20, take profit will be 40 to the downside. Okay, keep that. So that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for it to break the support, break that support, and then head to the downside. Then onto the Sweezy, sitting in that area for a retrace before breaking up. I will keep that. Straightforward, I'll keep that view. Push that right across. 8955 stop loss. I can keep it a bit tighter now at 20 pips. Take profit to 55. Yes, and a bit of a hesitation at 8984 or 8985. Lingopedia says euro seems bullish to me. It does seem to have that little tendency to have that push. That's why I was hesitating on that a bit. It does seem to have that tendency or that probability they could push up, but I don't see that reason why it could push up yet. So maybe a little bit more of a retrace before a rebound again. Maybe there is a bit of bullishness, but maybe just not yet. That's what I'm thinking. Okay, pound almost coming there. So US Swiss franc 8955. Stop loss 20, take profit 55. We'll keep that. 20 to 55. Yes, Swiss yen. I was going to do Swiss yen because we saw a big move on Swiss yen yesterday. Then, as we look at the US yen sitting along that support, and then onto the Swiss pushing, US Swiss franc pushing slightly to the upside. Swiss yen, we saw that go down and then push back up. I'll clear out these lines because we haven't used it for a long time. We have that resistance up here. And let me see. It's been a big move up that way. There we go. Right. Then also with that holding as a bit of a support. Okay, so it's in that range. It's in that range between 177.77 and 178.90 or 179. Right, it's in that range where if the US yen is sitting there and US Swiss franc is going to push up, means a bit of weakness on the Swiss franc, so the Swiss yen could push back down. I think it's a huge move. I think it would be a big move to try and expect that, but because it is very high at this point here, I'll be very careful. I would possibly prefer to see it come down, test, then you'll be looking at a position like, you can keep it as a tight stop, 30-40 pips, take profit back 100 that way. Right, so I'll give it the time, let it to retrace back down before bouncing and pushing back up. Very important question there from Hubert. You're a newbie joining us. Thank you for joining me on the YouTube stream. Please remember, at the start of every stream, I put up a couple of minutes of warning. I do not have any Telegram investment channels or Telegram groups or Telegram anything. I'm not on Telegram, so if you are looking at something that is on Telegram using my name or my face, please do not join, please quit, please do not invest in that. Please report that Telegram group or channel or profile. All right, you do me a massive favor by doing that. Okay, thanks for reminding me to warn everyone again on that, Hubert, but welcome to the channel. Swiss cut rate yesterday, yeah, we've seen that rate cut decision factor in here, and that's why we have that range. It's pushing down, but I think that it's done. Swiss franc rate cut is done. It's just sitting in that. It's still going to be driven by the dollar, yen, and also how the dollar is doing against the Swiss franc. Okay. Jimmy is asking for the Aussie yen. Again, Aussie, I want to go a little bit more before retracing, but it's retracing slightly now. Again, yen sitting right there. So on the Aussie yen, we talked about this. That would have hit your stop loss back in June that we talked about, or mid-June that we talked about it. Take all that away. Big push to the upside. Big resistance here. Let me see. Okay, I'll keep that. I really appreciate that. Thanks for that, Lingopedia. Don't need that. Analysis is free. You guys just have to remember to help me click that like and subscribe button. Okay, so that's pushing back. Aussie is turning back slightly. We're looking for it to push back down a bit before possibly pushing back up. We are on Aussie yen at the moment. I would be thinking it's very, very high at the moment. So just another thing too. I always say that, right? Just be super careful when it's at such a high point. It feels like it could come back down. It's just in that range with a stronger level down here. Thanks for that, Diana. I know you would. I have no doubt you would do that for me. Thank you so much. Looking at this, just looking at the trend and the way that the Aussie yen is moving, you can only think that you're looking for it to retrace and looking for it to bounce, to buy on the bounce, right? So whether it comes down to this point at the trend line, or if it just sits there and sits there in consolidation before breaking to the upside, you're only going, I wouldn't be ready to sell the Aussie yen back. I think it's very dangerous to sell it down at this point. You'd be looking for it to break above the resistance 106.45, tight stop 20-30 pips, and then you go for 106.45, you go for 107, which is the next nice round number. You'll be looking at a 50 pip take profit, 55 take profit to the upside. Then you just keep riding it up. Okay. Again, don't rule out the possibility or the chance of a crazy intervention from the BOJ. We saw it twice that time. It's in that area that is that risk again. Okay, I'll get through USCAD and then we'll come back to your request for the Euro Swiss franc or Euro Swiss franc. I haven't done that for a while. Okay, and we look at the Aussie Kiwi as well because you had a trade on that. USCAD with the CPI data to be released tonight, possibly showing a slowdown in inflation growth, is going to likely to bring about some weakness on the Canadian dollar. So that played out slightly to our favor as it sat in that consolidation and pushed down. But if we do see the dollar index push up slightly, if we do see the CAD regain a bit of strength, I wouldn't do, let me see, wouldn't do anything yet. Get the overall picture. 61.8 is going to hold. Okay, that 61 I like. That's a middle level. Okay, I don't think this is going to bring about anything. That's all done. Take that away. That move down. It's just in the middle there. That's why. So why I'm hesitating is I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, yes, CAD weakness should see this push up, but there is this whole area that it needs to clear before it pushes up, and it's going against the trend. I wouldn't actually be, I mean, it sounds a bit silly. I don't think we're going to see a big difference in the numbers here, and because if we don't see a big difference in the numbers here, this possible move on the yen is still, on the CAD, is still going to be driven by the dollar. Right? It's likely to be still driven by the strength or the weakness of the dollar. What I would like to see is if the CAD does push down towards support. Maybe in the lead up to the news, we see the dollar push back down slightly before the news. I want to see it bounce. I would prefer to be looking for a bounce off the support 1.3625, stop loss 20 pips, take profit 40 pips, and then you can go to 60 as well that way. Right? So I'd rather look for that kind of setup instead. So 1.3625, 20 to 40. All right, I'll prefer that one. We'll look to buy at 1.3625, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the upside. Looking for that to bounce off. That's also because of the CPI data release pending. Okay. Then on to the Euro Swiss franc. There. Look at that. Take out the lines, how it's been moving. Support is right down here. The resistance is right up here near there. Check this move. That's my 61.8. That kind of makes sense. And then my next point to be up here. And everything else is a bit too far away. Okay, there we go. Take those away. And looking at that now, support resistance in place, expecting the euro to sit there. Maybe it could bounce. If the euro does bounce, we'll see that push up. Swiss franc possibly going to push up slightly. So the euro Swiss franc, I would say that it needs to first break above this resistance formed by that 61.8 and that 0.9610 level before we could anticipate further upside towards the resistance of the 9680 level. Okay? Does that align with your thoughts? I'm looking for long. Oh yeah, so I guess it will align with your thoughts on the Euro Swiss franc to break above the resistance to the upside. Yeah. What about the French election? Jimmy is all about the elections this time around. What about the French elections? Any impact on the euro? No, not that much. If it happens, it happens, but I don't see, I've never, Macron, when Macron was elected, we saw a bit of a blip, but not a huge move or not a significant lasting impact from the election when Macron was elected. Yeah, not so much. It's more on the ECB for the euro. Right? Not so much about the elections. But hey, I like Jimmy, keep the questions coming. It keeps me on the ball. It makes sure that I read my news. I think about it critically just so that I can answer your questions. Keeps me switched on. So I appreciate it. Okay. What else are we gonna do? That's done. Okay. Aussie keep aiming for 100 pips on the Euro Swiss. Let me see. We've got 64 there. If it breaks up, we have got 64. If it breaks above 64, you could get 100, but I think 64 might be reasonable to start off with. Okay, Aussie Kiwi pushing up near a resistance. I know that I was looking at this before, that was on the daily. That's my 50% bouncing up. Keep that there. Okay. Now looking at this, if the Aussie pushes up, we could see that. I feel that we might see it. I'm not super convinced that we'll see it push up too much right now. It might hold. That level might hold for a while. If the Aussie is going to push back down, that might hold. Kiwi sitting right there. Kiwi is just sitting right across, so it's not going to do too much. Aussie is just sitting there. Even an upside is it's going to be very limited. Right, we have that dotted area up here. So it's going to be a limited upside potential. I think that Aussie Kiwi might hold at that point. I don't even think that it could get to that. Low chance, possible, low chance, but I think it might hold there before retracing slightly and then maybe. So it's going to take a bit longer. Might take a bit longer. On weekly time frame of fair value, so half of this will be filled. Okay. All right, then on to gold. Gold, we were talking about this to break up. Yesterday we said above 23.40 could trade up to 23.60. A little bit too optimistic because it didn't do that much. It just sat along, just pushed up slightly and then sat along this trend line. If the dollar does regain in strength, then we could see this break lower, but I think that we're likely to see it continue to sit along this area. Main thing is that it has to stay above 23.17 to remain bullish. Right, has to stay to remain 23.17 to remain bullish, but nothing exciting on gold at this point. Seems like yen's taking over the mantle for being exciting. Gold would have to stay above 23.17 to remain bullish. Alrighty. With that, it's a new hour. We're seeing it push up, seeing the dollar push up a little bit more. Looking for it to test and possibly reject. We'll see how that plays out. Now, if you have any questions or any other trade setups you'd like to discuss further, do make sure you join us on Discord. The link is there right at the top of the chat. And if you haven't already, please remember to click that like and subscribe button. Trade well, trade safe. I will see you all tomorrow for the live stream again. Take care now. Bye-bye.